Today we're going over the 5th Past King Future Queen Tempest Trials Event in FEH. Since I don't have a ton of new things to discuss about our latest heroic grow unit, let's spend some time talking about the seemingly new Arcane Axe coming soon. Diatzi, or however you say her name, appears to be an upcoming rearmed Axe armor unit, only the second rearmed armor unit. I'm sure some are looking to dupe Shield Fighter and those tier 4 savior skills. For Axe enthusiasts, Arcane Giant Axe is the third Arcane Axe. Expect a third lance and actual third sword to appear soon. This 60-might weapon has essentially what would be the upgraded version of Solid Ground. At start of either phase, neutralize panic and attack and defense debuffs being applied at the same time. This is the same idea behind Crystalline Water and Verge of Death. You keep your unit's stats debuff free and you don't have to worry about panicked buffs. In addition, this weapon has accelerated specials and an odd activation condition. It has the typical above 25% HP threshold, but it also is just always ready on the enemy phase. Just very generous. Users will get bonus stats equal to 25% of the foe's attack, minus 4. If the foe has 72 flat attack, you get the max plus 14 to all stats. Giant Axe then grants true damage and flat DR equal to 15% attack. Both effects work for and against AoE specials, which is pretty uncommon. Finally, just like Arcane Blitzgang, this weapon grants minus 1 instant cooldown before the first attack. It has to be some kind of developer inside joke that despite axe holders generally being on the slower side, there's still no Arcane Axe with a free follow-up. If you want a follow-up, you gotta go elsewhere. Not a huge issue for Diatzi as an army unit though, especially with stuff like that Wily Fighter Secret Seal. Curious to see if they want to make her a player phase armor though, going by her Tempest Boss kit. Now something axe units do generally have a lot of is high base attack. Arcane Giant Axe will reward more attack with true damage and flat DR, very Berserker-esque. The cooldown effects are both good. For Lagu's friend builds, you can use the instant cooldown to charge Dragon Fang or Ignis if the foe has guard. If you have the Emblem Ike plus times pulse setup going, you can instead use the instant cooldown to counter 1 layer scout. Topically, this cooldown selection will also make Boulder easier to run. If you use times pulse or Emblem Marth, you can instantly proc Boulder on initiating. If you use Diamant's Spiked Wall for no guard, then Boulder is ready on the counterattack. You even get the stacking true damage and flat DR sources with Boulder's 40% DR potentially. Similar to Ninja Diamant kinda, but you're not gonna have any DR piercing and Diamant has his brave attacks. While follow-ups may be a concern with Arcane Giant Axe, if you want to double, then Arcane Threma is still probably the go-to. I could see Brave Alphonse's skillset being run with the Giant Axe though. Excels on their flat DR swords and the attack and defense debuff prevention would benefit Boulder usage. For some potential free-to-play users, Summer to Do and Vake would be great picks among the recent infantry. For cows, I would say Young Frederick, but he already has his own weapon. Not a ton of recent high attack and defense axe flyers around. The most recent one already got the refined, so it's been a while. The others will at least require a lot of investment. Now, Valentine's Vigard is a fellow axe armor, but you can at least merge him up easily if you want. As a unit, I would like to see Diatzi actually bring Bold Fighter 4 or something. She probably won't have an extra action like Edelgard, but it would be nice to see some kind of armor player phase skills. We have quite enough saviors and Shield Fighter type builds going around. Now, we should find out more about Diatzi very shortly following recent trends. She most likely releases later this month on the New Heroes banner, so if you would like to get her and this new Arcane Giant Axe, then better start planning. Onto our actual Tempest Trials rewards. If you get the maximum 50,000 points, you can earn the usual 42 orbs, 11,000 feathers, and 80 sacred coins. This month we have Ephemeral 11 divine codes and 1 light blessing from Mythic Restvogr. Secret seals will be attack and defense prime and Rouse attack and speed. The reward unit is going to be Ninja Noire. You can earn a 4 and 5 star copy, and we'll talk about Noire later on. Our first Sacred Seal is the Neat Attack and Defense Prime 3, usable by all physical damage units. If a bonus is active on the user, grant bonus attack and defense equal to 3 plus the number of positive statuses active times 2. If you have 2 statuses, you get the max plus 7 attack and defense. This is the first Prime Sacred Seal. Tier 3 Primes are just okay. Plus 7 attack and defense is the same as attack and defense form, less than Clash potentially, and only 1 more than Solo. Instead of positioning though, Prime requires 2 status effects. Not the hardest thing to come by, but you gotta watch out for anti-status counters. Unlike the Tier 4 Prime skills, the Tier 3 does not give distant or close counter. Generally, that's what makes Prime an interesting skill. As a stat booster, it's fine, but you need to have active status effects. You can stack it with the Tier 3A skill, thanks to Marnie. Now our next Sacred Seal is Rouse Attack and Speed 3. If units solo at start of turn, grant plus 6 attack and speed field buffs for 1 turn. Self-buffing Sacred Seals are okay, but generally don't give a huge advantage over just in-combat buffs. Most of these are also C skills, which is generally an easier slot to fit things in, and then you can run an in-combat boost as your Sacred Seal to stack with more stats. Unless you have a very specific need for field buffs like Treachery or something similar, then these skills as Sacred Seals just aren't that appealing, at least to me. If you want to stack with Rouse, Defense, and Res though, Mathis does have that as a 4-star C skill. Now, not part of the Tempest Trials, but with this update you can get Squad Ace CJ from the 88th Squad Assault, plus 3 attack, speed, and res flat stats. This is the same as Squad Ace BZ. Simple stat variations if you can't decide on what you want.
Stay stealthy, get close, and that's it, right? Ah! Oh, sorry! I should really be more alert.
Our reward unit for Ninja November is Noire. As a unit, I unfortunately don't have a lot of new things to say if you watch my video or understand what Medity has to offer. It's been less than a month, and Ninja Noire is basically the same as Medity stat-wise, and it's also a Colorless Dagger unit. That's not a bad thing, it's just not very interesting, discussion-wise. Noire's Inheritable weapon is the most intriguing thing she brings, so we'll focus on that for the most part. For stats, Noire has 38 HP, 44 attack, 47 speed, 36 defense, and 28 res. She has a very nice speed super boon, and you can get extra res if you want to balance your bulk. This is a very solid offensive stat spread for a free unit. No complaints here if you want a fun merge project. For her Inheritable, Noire will bring the Giant Shuriken Plus. This is a 7-might Brave Dagger. The main reason daggers saw very little use back in the old days is that you could just make a very simple but effective Brave Bow Death Blow build for any archer. Daggers never had an Inheritable Brave weapon, now they do. You cannot refine Brave weapons, but luckily Giant Shuriken has some other effects. If initiating or near an ally, you get plus 5 total stats. This weapon then grants the effects of tempo, aka no extra special charging and no guard. Giant Shuriken is a fantastic free-to-play weapon because you simply can't go and get Brave attacks unless you can set up Triangle Attack or Dual Strike. The plus 5 stat boost is nice, and tempo is very good to have when you have 2 back-to-back hits. You always gain 1 cooldown on the first hit and possibly proc your special on the second. Brave attacks are one of the few things arcane weapons have not touched. To be honest, the fact we're finally getting an Inheritable Brave Dagger makes me think an arcane Brave weapon really isn't out of the question. I mean, we'll see how long it takes till we get to that point in the game. Just like Medity, Noire's other base skills are rough. Moonbow's fine, but Infantry Flash only gives Flashing Blade to other infantry allies. I wouldn't mind seeing it Infantry Flash 4, hopefully it would give its effects to the user like Infantry No Follow 4. As for Noire's B skill, Seal Attack and Speed 2 was only on Summer Frederick back in year 1. It never was on another unit because it's not a great skill. The only reason it'd be nice to have this on a free-to-play unit now is when we get a Seal Attack and Speed 3 in the B slot. Even then, the B slot is so competitive that unless you don't need other effects, simple stat debuffs plus guard isn't really enough to tempt using these in a build that often. Now, if you plan to merge up Noire, you will get plus 1 HP, attack, and defense for the neutral nature. If you go with that speed super boon, she's actually going to get a full plus 4 extra speed. Same for the res super boon. With a brave weapon though, a little extra attack also doesn't hurt here. As mentioned earlier, Medity was just released last month. Stat-wise, he has more HP, but basically the same attack and speed as Noire. Medity has attack and speed super boons, plus he'll be cheaper heroic grill-wise in the long term. He doesn't have a unique weapon though, so these two are interchangeable. I don't understand why they couldn't just make one of these guys a red dagger. At least it would be slightly more interesting. Now, with all that said, Pern is still around as a not that old unit with a unique Brave Dagger. His Blade Morale has Bread type cooldown, but it also buffs nearby allies with plus 6 attack and speed and deneutralize debuff status. You can't really compete with that, and Pern's offensive stats aren't very far behind Medity or Noire, still a great unit. On the 3 to 4 star demote side, both Medity and Noire are slightly better than Patty if you want an offensive colorless dagger. They both outgun Kath and Comb, who are the colored daggers. We did get Laura this year, who is a red dagger, but she is a dancer. For playstyle, Giant Shuriken is a player phase only brave weapon, and Noire's got good offensive stats, so we're going to go with the usual initiation builds. Since this weapon has tempo, it pairs nicely with Flashing Blade. Even against guard, you get -2 cooldown on the first hit, and then you'll proc Moonball on your second hit. If Noire quads, she can get a second movable proc. She has the speed to get quad attacks, but you may want no follow-up to ensure she gets by follow-up denial. Desperation is another good effect, and you can run both of these as B skills or sacred seals. For other skills, Noire pretty much just wants attack and speed. You can use attack and speed ideal, solo, or sparrow, maybe life and death. The good old fury can work since giant Shuriken does grant +5 defense and res, it's not bad. For C skills, attack and speed oath for self buffs, but you can do infantry flash for support, or you can go with attack, speed, or panic smoke to stack with the usual -7 defense res dagger debuffs. If you don't need a ton of speed, Noire can stack defense res. Attack and defense finish is fun to get some extra true damage if you can ready a special. We also have some finish A skills. For quad attacks or multiple fights, you can run Luna or Bonfire. One interesting aspect of Giant Shuriken's tempo effect is pairing it with Guard. This combo prevents the enemy from charging specials entirely unless they have their own no Guard effect, or they use instant cooldown. Obviously, not the rarest things to run into nowadays on some powerful units, but still it's a neat idea. One of the downsides of Brave hits is that if you fail to KO the enemy, you're going to give them extra special charge. That could mean you charge up their big special for a counterattack. Among premium skills, Pulse Smog can possibly solve the issue with giving the enemy extra cooldown. Smog has Guard and Scowl, so in combination with Tempo, you can block enemy special charging. If they do have no Guard or instant cooldown, the Scowl effect can counteract those. This may allow Noire to not take a special counter, and if it's against something like a Lagu's friend unit, then you may block the foe's DR piercing method. You could then bring your own %DR from Remote Sparrow or Fleeting Echo, things like that. While quad attacking with Desperation is an option, if foes have Hardy Bearing, they will force you to take a hit if you can't KO in 2 hits. Pulse Smog could allow Noire to only tank a basic attack, which is much more doable. If she can survive and outspeed with no follow-up, then you can continue onward to the 3rd and 4th hits. Noire can run physical no follow-up to gain 50% DR piercing on all hits, and you can maybe get multiple special procs instead of one big lethality. The main issue is that Pulse Smog is only on Legendary Melchez. I don't know if or when we'll get another source. With Brave hits, there are more opportunities though to reach something like lethality. If you can get 2 cooldown to pre-charge, then with Flash Sparrow, Pledge, or Flashing Blade, you can get lethality on your second Brave hit. If you can run Pulse Smog, you have Breath type cooldown, and you survive a counter attack, then a second lethality is also possible. It's also possible to get 2 lethalities if you proc it on the very first attack, recharge on hits 2 and 3, and then lethality on that 4th hit. Obviously, this requires some absurd amounts of cooldown, and you cannot run into any enemy tempo effects, but we did just get a Lucina who gives free cooldown without fighting, so it is very possible. For their Inheritables, the Seasonal Ice Dagger gives 50% DR piercing, while Small Spade gives Breath type cooldown. Metadee's Gainful Dagger has no follow-up and no panic. Arcane Tempest is the premium no follow-up option with Times Pulse, and Arcane Void has Breath type cooldown plus a follow-up. If you want to pair Noire with Darja, Hexblade is nice for adaptive damage, Finish 4 is excellent as usual, and Assassin Strike is solid with its true damage. While Pulse Smog is fun, Noire can run any of the tier 4 self-buff and C skills, Oath 4, Pledge, Infantry no follow, Outspeed Wave 4, Times Pulse is fun, and you got Times Pulse Echo for those crazy special setups. Speaking of which, Brave hits plus Tempo could be used to charge Miracle, just not dying can mess up certain units' game plans, but unlike someone like Dual Lucina, Noire's not gonna pull out 25 plus true damage, so don't expect anything super crazy. Overall, in OK Tempest Trials, Attack and Defense Prime is another stat boosting option if you're confident in upkeeping 2 statuses on the user. Ninja Noire is by all means a really solid free to play unit. We don't get a ton of Heroic Growth Dagger units, and Noire's offensive stats are pretty top tier. The only issue is we just got Metadine less than a month ago, and they're the exact same class type with very similar stats. At the very least, Noire's Giant Shuriken is very cool. First Inheritable Brave Dagger and it having Tempo does open up some neat cooldown manipulation. As an infantry unit, Noire has a wide selection of cooldown skills to abuse with it. That's all I got to say for this video. Be on the lookout for the Arcane Giant Axe, most likely coming later this month. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.